Hello everyone, hope you're all alright. I'm about to read the next part of the BFG story for us. So last time we had a funny chapter of the BFG and Sophie sharing a bottle of Frobscottle, which was their fizzy pop drink that the BFG likes to drink, but it makes you do whiz poppers. So they were having a great time, but they're off to do something else today. After the mad Frobscottle party was over, Sophie settled herself again on top of the enormous table in the cave. "You feeling better now?" asked the BFG. "Oh, yeah, much better, thank you," Sophie said. "Whenever I is feeling a little bit scrotty," the BFG said, "few gallops of that Frobscottle always making me feel hopscotchy again." "Well, I must say, it is quite an experience to drink," Sophie said. "Oh, it is a rat's twizzler! It's glory-umptious," the BFG said, and he turned away and strode across the cave and picked up his dream-catching net. "I's galloping off now. Catch some whoopsie-whiffling dreams for my collection. I's doing this every day without missing. You wanting to come with me?" "Oh no, not me, thank you very much. Not with those other nasty giants out there." "Oh no, I's snuggling you very cosy in my pocket in my waistcoat. No one's be seeing you." And before Sophie could protest, he had picked her up and popped her into the waistcoat pocket, and there was plenty of room in there. "You wishing for a little hole to see out of?" he asked her. "Oh, there's one here already actually," and she'd found a little hole in the pocket. She put one eye close to it and she could see out. She could see out very well indeed, and she watched the BFG as he bent down now and filled his suitcase with empty glass jars. He closed the lid, picked up the suitcase in one hand, took the pole with the net on the end in the other hand, and he marched over towards the entrance of the cave. As soon as he was outside, the BFG set off across the great hot yellow wasteland where the blue rocks lay and the dead trees stood and where all the other giants were skulking about. Sophie squatted low on her heels in the pocket of the waistcoat, one eye glued to the little hole, and she saw a group of enormous giants about 300 yards ahead of them. "Hold your breaths," the BFG whispered down to her. "Cross your fingers, here we go. We's going right past all those other giants. Is you seeing what whopping great one, that great one nearest to us?" "Yes, I see him," Sophie whispered, quivering. "That is the horriblest of them all, you know, the biggest of them all. He is called the flesh-lump-eating giant." "I don't think I want to hear about him," Sophie said. "He is 54 feet high, and he is swallowing up human beings like they is sugar lumps, 2 or 3 of them at a time." "Oh, you're making me nervous," Sophie said. "I's nervous myself. I's always getting jumpsy as a jog hopper when the flush lump eating giant's about." "Can't you just keep away from him?" "Not possible. He is galloping easily 2 times as quickly as me." "Shall we just go back?" Sophie said. "Turning back is worse. If they's seeing me running away, they's giving chase and throwing rocks at me." "They wouldn't eat you, would they?" "Giants is never guzzling other giants, but they is fighting and squarreling a lot with each other, never guzzling. Human beings is more tasty to them than other giants." And the giants ahead had already spotted the BFG coming, and all their heads turned to him as he tried to jog forward away. And he was aiming to just go right past them, right past that group of giants. And through her little peephole, Sophie saw the flesh lump eating giant move over to intercept the BFG. He didn't hurry, he just loped over casually to a point where the BFG would have to pass by, and the others loped off to him. Sophie counted 9 of them altogether, She recognised the blood bottler in the middle of them. Remember, that was the giant that went into the cave. They were all bored. They had nothing to do until nightfall, and there was an air of menace about them as they loped slowly across the plain with long, lolloping strides, heading right for the BFG.
"Oh, here he comes, the runty one,"
boomed the flesh lump eater.
"Ho, there, runty one. Where is you splash-winkling away to in such a hefty hurry, eh?"
And he shot out an enormous arm and grabbed the BFG by his hair. The BFG didn't struggle. He simply stopped and stood quite still.
"Be so kind as to be letting go of my hair, flesh lump eater."
And the flesh lump eater released him and stepped back. The other giants stood around waiting for the fun to start.
"Now then, you little grob squiffler,"
boomed the flesh lump eater,
"with all of us wanting to know where you is galloping off to every day in the daytime. Nobody ought to be galloping off in the daytime unless it's getting dark. Human beings could easily be spotting you, and then he start a giant hunt. We is not wanting that to happen, is we?" "No, we is not. Go back to your cave, lunty one," shouted the other giants.
I is not galloping to any human being country," the BFG said. I is galloping off to other places."
"I is thinking," said the flesh lump eater, "that you is catching human beings and keeping them as pets." "Right you is," cried the blood bottler. "Just now I was hearing him chuntering away to one of them in his cave."
"You is welcome. You're welcome to go. You're looking round in my cave, looking every crook and nanny. There is not a human being, no stringy bean, or runner bean, or jelly bean, or any other type of bean in my cave." And Sophie crouched still as a mouse inside the BFG's pocket. She hardly dared to breathe. She was terrified that she might sneeze. The slightest sound or movement could give her away. And through that tiny peephole in the pocket, she watched the giants clustering around the BFG. How revolting they were! Their biggy little eyes and enormous great big mouths. And when the flesh lump eater was speaking, she got a glimpse of his tongue. It was jet black, like a slab of black steak. Every one of them was more than twice the size and twice as tall as the BFG himself. Suddenly, the flesh lump eater shot out two enormous hands and grabbed hold of the BFG around his waist, and he tossed him up into the air.
"Catch him, man-hugger!"
And the man-hugger giant caught him. And the other giants all spread out now in a large circle, each giant about 20 yards from his neighbour, preparing for this game that they were about to play. And now the man-hugger threw the BFG high and far.
"Catch him, bone cruncher!"
And the bone cruncher giant ran forward and caught the BFG and swung him up in the air again. "Catch him, child chewer!" And so it went on. The giants were playing a game of ball with the BFG, vying with each other to see who could throw him up the highest. Sophie dug her nails into the sides of the pocket to try and prevent herself from tumbling out when she was flung upside down. She felt as though she were in a barrel going over Niagara Falls waterfall. And all the time there was the fearful danger that one of the giants would fail to catch the BFG and he would go boom, crashing to the ground. And here is a funny picture of, look, quite scary actually, all these massive giants throwing the BFG around in the sky like he is a football.
"Catch him, meat dripper! Catch him, gizzard gulper! Catch him, maid masher! Catch him, catch him, catch him!"
And in the end, these giants, they got bored of this game and they dumped the poor BFG back on the ground. He was dazed and shattered. They gave him a few kicks and they shouted, "Run away, you little runt! Let us be seen how fast you is galloping!" And so the BFG, he ran. What else could he do? The giants, they picked up rocks and they hurled stones after him, but he managed to dodge them out of the way.
Ruddy little runt, troggy little twit, you shively little shrimp, mucky little midget, squuggy little squib, grubby little grub.
But at last, the BFG got clear away of them all, and in a couple of minutes that pack of giants was away and out of sight as the two of them head out over the horizon. Sophie popped her head out from the pocket. "I did not like that," she said.
Few and far between. They's a nasty scrotchy mood today, wasn't they?
"I'm sorry you's having to seek such a whirligig time." "Oh, don't worry, it was no worse than you," Sophie said. "Would they ever really hurt you?" Sophie asked.
"Oh, I'm not really trusting them," the BFG said.
"So, how do they actually catch the human beings that they eat then?" Sophie asked.
"Oh, they is usually just sticking an arm through into the bedroom window, snatching them out from their beds,"
the BFG said. "Just like you did to me, you mean?"
But I isn't eating you, is I?" the BFG said.
"How else might they catch them?" Sophie asked.
"Sometimes," the BFG said, "sometimes they're swimming in the sea like fishes with only their heads showing up above the water. And then out comes a great big hand and grabs one off the beach."
"Children as well?"
Often childlers. Little childlers who is building sandcastles on the beach. Only their hands. Big hand snatches them off the beach. Little children, they're not so tough to eat, you know. Grandmas and granddads is also chewy. That says the child chewing giant anyway."
And as they talked, the BFG, he was galloping fast over the land. And Sophie was standing now right up in his pocket, holding onto the edge with both hands. Her head and shoulders were out in the open, and the wind was blowing in her hair. "How else do they catch people then?"
All of them is having their own special ways of catching people. The meat dripping giant is preferring to pretend that he is a great big tree growing in the park. He's standing there in the park in a dusky evening, holding great big branches over his head, and there he is waiting till some happy family is coming to have a picnic, and the meat dripping giant is watching them as they lay out their picnic, and then it is the meat dripper who has the picnic.
"Oh, it's too awful," Sophie cried.
The gizzard gulping giant, he is a city lover," the BFG went on. "The gizzard gulper is lying high up between the roofs of houses in big cities, and he is lying there snuggy as a sniggler, watching the human beings walking in the streets down below. And when he sees one that he likes the look of, he grabs it. He's simply reaching down, snitching it off the street like a monkey taking a nut. He says it is nice to be able to pick and choose who he was having for your supper. He says it is like choosing off a menu."
"But don't people ever see him doing that?" Sophie asked.
"Oh, never is they seeing him. Not forget, this is dusky dark at this time. Also, the gizzard gulper, he's got a very fast arm. His arm is going up and down quicker than Squinker's."
"But all of these people disappearing every night. Surely there's some kind of outcry and panic."
"The world is a whopping big place, you know. It has 100 different countries, and giants is very clever. They is careful not to be skiddling off to the same country too often. They is switch filling around to different countries."
"Oh yes, but even so."
"And also, do not forget, human beings, they's disappearing everywhere all the time without giants guzzling them up. Human beings is killing each other much more quicker than us giants is doing it."
"But we don't eat each other. Human beings don't eat each other."
"Well, giants isn't eating other giants either," the BFG said. "And nor is giants killing each other. Giants is not very lovely, but they's not killing each other. Nor is a crocodile dilly killing another crocodile dilly.
nor is a pussycat kill another pussycat. But they kill mice. Ah, but they's not killing their own kind, the BFG said. Human beings, they's the only animals that is killing their own kind. Don't poisonous snakes kill each other? Sophie asked. She was searching desperately for some other creature that actually behaved as bad as humans do. Even poisonous snakes, he's never killing other poisonous snakes. Nor is the fearsome creatures like tigers and rhinoceroses. None of them is ever killing their own kind, you know. Have you ever thought about that? Sophie kept quite silent. No, I's not understanding human beings at all, the BFG said. You is a human being, and you is saying it is grisling and horrigust for giants to eat human beings, right or left? Yes, right, Sophie said. But human beings is squishing each other all the time, the BFG said. They is shooting guns at each other and going up in aeroplanes, dropping bombs onto each other's heads every week. Human beings is always killing other human beings. And he was right, of course. He was right, and Sophie knew it. She was beginning to wonder whether human beings were actually any better than the giants. But even so, she said, defending her own race, I think it's rotten that those foul giants, they should go off every night and eat humans. Human beings have never done them any harm. Right, but that is what the little piggywig is saying every day, the BFG answered. He is saying, I's never done any harm to the human being. Why is they eating little old me? Oh dear, Sophie said. The human being, they is making up rules to suit themselves, you know. But the rules they is making do not suit the little piggywiggies. Am I right or am I left? Yes, you're right, Sophie said. Giants is also making rules, and their rules is not suiting the human beings. Everybody is making their own rules to suit themselves. But you don't like it, do you? That those beastly giants are always eating at human beings every night? Sophie asked him. I do not, the BFG answered. One right is not making two lefts. Now is you quite cosy down there in my pocket? Yes, I'm fine, Sophie said. And then suddenly once again, the BFG, he went into that magical top speed gear of his and he began hurtling with phenomenal speed. His speed was unbelievable. The landscape became blurred and again Sophie had to duck down from the whistling gale to save her head from being blown off her shoulders. And she crouched down in the pocket and listened to the wind screaming past. It came knifing in through that little tiny peephole in the pocket and whooshed around her like a hurricane. But this time the BFG didn't stay in top gear for long. It only seemed as though he had to get over some barrier, a mountain perhaps, or an ocean, or a great big desert. But having crossed over it now, he once again slowed down to a normal gallop. And Sophie was able to pop her head back up out of the pocket and look around at the view. And she noticed immediately now that they were in an altogether paler country. The sun had disappeared. The air was becoming cooler. Every minute the land was flat, treeless, and there seemed to be no colour there at all. Every minute the mist around them became thicker, the air became colder still, and everything became paler and paler, until soon there was nothing but grey and white all around them. They were in a country of swirling mists and ghostly vapours, and there was some sort of grass underfoot, but it wasn't green, it was an ashy grey colour, and there was no sign of a living creature there anywhere, no sound at all, except for the soft thud, thud, thud of the BFG's footsteps as he hurtled on through the fog. Suddenly he stopped. We is here at last, he announced, and he bent down, lifted Sophie from his pocket and put her down on the ground. Now Sophie was still in her nightie with bare feet. She shivered and stared around her at the swirling mists and ghostly vapours. Where are we?
We is in dream country, the BFG answered. This is where all dreams is beginning.
Now that's the end of the chapter. I'm going to have to find out tomorrow, or the next time we read, what they do when they go dream catching. I wonder how that'll happen. I hope you enjoyed that. I will see you later for the next part of the BFG. Take care. Bye.